She regretted the blind date, until his daughter walked in and said, "You're the one from Daddy's story." Sarah stared at her cold coffee, watching the foam dissolve into nothingness, much like her hope for this evening. Another blind date. Another awkward conversation with a stranger her well-meaning sister had sworn was different this time. She checked her watch for the third time in 5 minutes, debating whether she should just leave before he even arrived. At 32, she had survived enough disappointing first meetings to know when her heart wasn't in it anymore. But something, perhaps just politeness or the memory of her sister's hopeful face, kept her glued to that cafe chair. She had no idea that in the next 30 minutes her entire understanding of love, timing, and second chances would shatter and rebuild itself in the most unexpected way. If you're enjoying this story and want more heartwarming tales that restore your faith in humanity, please hit that like button, drop a comment below sharing your thoughts, and subscribe to Kindness Pulse so you never miss a story that touches your soul. Your support means the world to us. Michael walked through the cafe doors exactly 7 minutes late, and Sarah noticed immediately that he looked nervous. Not the cocky, overconfident nervous of men trying too hard, but genuinely anxious, like someone stepping back into a world they'd left behind long ago. He was tall, with kind eyes that carried shadows she recognized, the kind that come from loss, from rebuilding yourself piece by piece. When he apologized for being late, explaining that his daughter's babysitter had been delayed, Sarah felt her protective walls soften just slightly. A single father. Her sister had mentioned that detail, but hearing him say it with such tender concern made it real. The conversation started awkwardly, as these things do. Michael seemed distracted, checking his phone twice within the first 15 minutes. Sarah felt her old defenses rising, the familiar disappointment creeping in. Here we go again, she thought. Another man who wasn't really ready, who was just going through the motions because someone told him he should start dating again. She was about to make an excuse and leave when Michael finally put his phone down and looked at her with such genuine apology that she paused. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I'm terrible at this. It's been 3 years since my wife passed, and my daughter Emma, she's only 6. She's my whole world, and I keep thinking about whether she's okay, whether she's eaten dinner, whether she's scared because Daddy's not home at bedtime." His voice cracked slightly on that last word, and Sarah felt something shift inside her chest. This wasn't a man taking dating lightly. This was a man trying to honor his late wife's wish that he wouldn't stop living, while terrified of betraying her memory or failing his daughter. Sarah reached across the table and touched his hand gently. "Tell me about her," she said. "Tell me about Emma." And Michael's entire face transformed. For the next hour, he spoke about his daughter with such profound love that Sarah forgot about her doubts, forgot about her list of requirements and deal breakers, forgot about every disappointing date that had led her to this moment. He told her how Emma still slept with her mother's scarf, how she asked questions about heaven that broke his heart and mended it simultaneously, how she was learning to read and insisted on sounding out every street sign they passed. He told her about the bedtime stories he invented, trying to fill the silence his wife had left behind. "There's one story Emma asks for every single night," Michael said, his eyes distant with memory. "It's about a princess who feels lost and alone wandering through a dark forest. She thinks she'll never find her way home until she meets a friend who has her own light, her own magic. Together they help each other find the path forward." He smiled sadly. "I made it up the week after the funeral. I didn't know how else to tell her that we'd be okay, that someday we'd find happiness again, even if it looked different than before." Sarah felt tears burning her eyes. She thought about her own journey, the failed relationships, the years of feeling like love was something that happened to other people, the slowly hardening shell she'd built around her heart. Maybe she and Michael were both wandering in their own forests, carrying their own darkness, looking for a light they'd stopped believing existed. The date ended with an agreement to meet again, and Sarah drove home feeling something she hadn't felt in years: possibility. Not certainty, not fireworks, but the quiet, steady possibility that maybe this could be something real. Their second date was at Michael's house, a decision that felt significant, like being trusted with something precious. When Sarah arrived, Michael answered the door looking even more nervous than before. "Emma really wanted to meet you," he said. "I hope that's okay. She overheard me talking to my sister about you, and she's been asking questions all week." Before Sarah could respond, a small voice called from inside the house. Daddy, is she here? Is it her? A tiny girl with wild curls and her father's kind eyes came running to the door. Emma stopped abruptly when she saw Sarah, her mouth falling open in wonder. The little girl stared for a long, breathless moment, and then her face lit up with such pure joy that Sarah felt her heart crack wide open. Daddy! Emma grabbed her father's hand, jumping up and down with excitement. Daddy, it's her. It's really her. She's the one from your story, the friend with the magic light who helps the princess find her way home. Michael's face went pale, then red. Emma, sweetie, that's just a story. But Emma wasn't listening. She launched herself at Sarah, wrapping small arms around her waist. I knew you were real, she whispered. I told Daddy you had to be real because the best stories always are. Before you go, remember to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Kindness Pulse for more stories that remind us all that love and kindness can find us in the most unexpected ways. Sarah knelt down, eye level with this beautiful child who somehow saw more clearly than any adult. She looked up at Michael, saw the tears streaming down his face, saw the hope and fear and love all tangled together in his expression. She thought about all the wrong turns that had led her here, all the disappointments that had been preparing her for this exact moment. The best stories always are real, Sarah whispered back to Emma, pulling both the little girl and her father into an embrace. And in that moment, 3 lost souls found their way out of the forest, not because the darkness disappeared, but because they chose to be each other's light. Sometimes love doesn't arrive in the way we expect. It comes wrapped in bedtime stories and blind dates we almost skip, in the wisdom of children who still believe in magic, and in the courage to trust that our broken pieces might fit together into something even more beautiful than before.